I'd like to start with this session right now. This session about how entrepreneurs are dealing with the COVID crisis. And I'm super excited to look at this from the perspective of actual entrepreneurs, but also from somebody who's running an amazing organization that is helping entrepreneurs, and now, of course, especially during this crisis. So with that said, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Richard van Holwerf. I used to work for SPARK in West Africa for about 9 years. I'm currently working for the Dutch government where we're doing similar work, so also supporting young entrepreneurs with incubation, with finance. And I've got my own little company, Renewable Energy, that's about to launch a project in Liberia. So that's my brief introduction. Now I'd like to give the floor to Grace. Grace, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Of course. Lovely to virtually meet all of you. My name's Grace Atkinson, and I'm the Executive Director of Jusor. Obviously, I'm bringing a slightly different perspective to the table here. Jusor is a non-profit. We're registered in the UK, Canada, and the US, but we have a mission to support Syrian youth through education and entrepreneurship and access to livelihood. So I think very relevant to the greater conversation here. I have experience both with working in startups and training entrepreneurs. So hopefully I'll be able to speak to both of those sides, but also working remotely, which is a new experience for what a lot of us have had to adapt to in the current situation, and also crisis management and getting companies and organizations through more difficult times. I think the most important thing, I'd love to talk about both the challenges and the opportunities, and thank you to the participant who posted that. I think that we're all feeling quite negative, but I do think that there's a lot of upsides, as we heard in the previous talk from Fadi as well, that can come out of the current situation. And then just emphasizing as well that every case is different, and it's so difficult in these very, very tight time periods to be able to touch on the intricacies of every single different startup and how they're working and how they're able to adapt, what their team looks like, etc. So kind of like a caveat at the beginning that what's said here is not a one-size-fits-all solution. I guess it's just some inspiration and some generalization of the context of what we're experiencing.
Grace, thank you very much. Sorry, before I give the floor to Mohammed, can you please tell us, the audience, a little bit about that amazing Entrepreneurs Roadshow that you did?
Yes, of course. So this is very exciting. So for over the past 6 years, we've been training as Jusor Syrian entrepreneurs, usually in a bootcamp format, where we do a very intensive training with the entrepreneurs, taking them through a load of developing their MVP, financial plans, business plans, and then at the end we do a demo day and invest in Syrian entrepreneurs. And the last 3 years in fact, but the last 2 years we've gone much bigger through a partnership with SPARK, where we've taken this bootcamp format on the road, going to 5 cities in the MENA region, to Beirut, Amman, Erbil, Gaziantep, and Istanbul. It's been a fantastic experience. I've been able to go to the ground and see the training firsthand, and so inspired by these entrepreneurs, by the level of enthusiasm and commitment that's that the young Syrian youth are going into this bootcamp, and then just the sheer commitment coming out of it to make their startups. A huge kind of like shout out to all of them who are in the audience, and really like inspiring me, and the resilience that I'll talk a little bit more about later is incredible. So
very cool. Thank you very much, Grace. Mohammed,
hi.
The floor is yours. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, and all the fantastic work that you're doing.
Okay. The first, I'm very happy to attend in this event. I am happy to meet you. I am Mohammed Abu Matar from Gaza, Palestine. I'm in 34 years old. I studied telecommunication in Gaza Training Center. I enjoy with working on hardware projects and building things and the hardware in general. I have developed many products for the local market and made a different difference there. Through my startup, Tashkil. Tashkil, it's an Arabic name, meaning in English forming or shaping. I work in field in digital fabrication and 3D printing. Recently, I have worked with my team to build 3D printers based on local resources and open source designs.
Very cool. And
Yeah,
sorry, again, but Tashkil means forming or shaping, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful name for your company. Hey, and so, but you do have to explain digital fabrication to people because you tried to explain it to me yesterday. I think I got it halfway. But I'd like you to explain that to the audience a little bit more in depth what that means.
Mhm. Okay, we used many technologies like CNC machines and 3D printers and laser cutters to build prototypes for industrial production. For example, anyone have an idea, new idea, he came to us and asked us to develop this product and make sample of it. We have here in Gaza have a special situation. We have a complex situation, political and commercial situation here, and we have limited resources of material and machines. So the digital fabrication make a good solution for anyone who want to develop a new idea and to manufacturing a new idea. He came to us and asked us to develop these ideas, and we make it.
Hey, Mohammed, and you told me that you already had about 400 customers, right? Since you
Mm,
started the company in 2015. Well, that's amazing.
yeah.
I just saw Noah join the join the session, and I'm hoping she still is in it. So Noah, are you here? And if you are, could you please introduce yourself to the audience? Right.
Hello, Richard. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm just trying to
Yes, we
be
can
sure
hear you.
that all is okay. Okay, great. So I don't have enough stable connection here, so I just want to be sure that everything is okay.
Yes, we can hear you, and I think you came in just in time, so it's the perfect timing for you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, first of all, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Nawal Rahmouni. I am from Aleppo, Syria. I moved to Lebanon in 2013. I graduated last year from the Lebanese International University. I studied communication of arts, and now I'm working as a volunteer with 4 NGOs in communication department to gain more experience with the communications field. And I have my own small business called Gharna. I don't know if you want to hear more about Gharna, so...
Sorry, what did you say, Noah? Can you tell us a little bit about that and about and when you started and how many employees do you have at the moment?
Yes, I started in 2018. The first thing I was thinking about when I was going to my senior senior project in the university, find any job to work and to support my seniors, especially that I have a full schedule in the university. So I think about something to sell to support myself. I still remember.
Oh, I think
My family sent me 4 pieces of soaps. Yeah, so I was thinking about, okay, let's sell them, and I can support my finance. Created page on Facebook. We discussed that, me and one of my friends, and now he became my partner. And we sold all of them, the 4 pieces, and I called my family and told them to send me more. And thinking about is to do something unique to sell our products. So the first thing that we thought about.
Noah, are you still there? Oh, there you are.
Is to do some handmade crafts. Yes, to do some handmade craft, and here we are. We start in 4 pieces, and now we are 5 people working on Gharna, and we scale up our business and have 17 products.
17
as a product, not as
you started with 4 and now you have 17 products. Yes. Noah, are you still there? Okay, I want to all thank you very much for your introduction. We took a bit more time because we started a little bit later with this session, but we had about 15 minutes for all the what I'm now going to do for the next 30 minutes, I have some questions prepared that I want to ask you. Yes, we are also going to look at the opportunities. Let's also just start, just for a sense of how real and challenging this has been for the entrepreneurs. Let's start with sort of the impact that the crisis had on your company. So, Mohammed, would you mind starting with that? Like, sort of, what happened when this crisis started?
As I speak before, we have in general in Gaza, it's a crisis area, and we have complex situation to work. Any normal situation, we have complex problems, and to work and to make any project, you face a lot of problem to solve. So in the beginning of the crisis, I confused and I worried about my future of business and what I should to do and how I can face this problem. So I looking for in the open source communities how the countries the crisis reach there, how they face this crisis and how they make solutions and how the procedures they are made for it. And I found some examples in the social media and open source communities in general. Suggest solutions for to face this crisis.
Can you give us an example of one of those solutions that you found?
For example, one of them it's a face shield. It's a face shield to protect the workers in medical to protect the medical staff that work closely with the patients. I rent it with a 3D printer and publish a post in social media. Like example, what we should do to this problem. The post make a lot of reactions and a lot of people ask us to print this face shield to them. And the news reach officials, people in the Ministry of Health in Gaza. And they call us and ask me to make a meeting to discuss what else of projects can we make together to face the crisis in Gaza. Until that, no one, there is no one patient of COVID-19.
Right. Okay. Hey, great. Oh, sorry, Mohammed, did I interrupt you? What did you want to say?
Okay. And after calls from the Minister of Health, we discuss a lot of projects we can work with it and make a priority of the project. And now we're working with the Minister of Health with a ventilator machine and accessories related with this ventilator.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Grace, how was this for you? Like, can you tell us a little bit what happened when this crisis started? Like, what was the impact on your own organization, but also what kind of impact did you see at the entrepreneurs that you were helping?
Mm-hmm, of course. So, I mean, for our own organization, as I'm sure a lot of people in the call are living through something similar. Our first thought was for our beneficiaries across the board. So that's in the scholarship program, the refugee education program, and the entrepreneurship program. So immediately reaching out to the beneficiaries, seeing how they're doing, if they're healthy, and if they're facing any additional challenges. For example, for our scholarship program, and I know you guys do scholarships as well, we had challenges with our scholars who couldn't stay in their university accommodation anymore. So we did a lot of quick response with supporting them to find new housing for our refugee education program. We had to shut our education centres in Lebanon. So we very quickly pivoted to online learning, and we decided to use WhatsApp for doing the lessons online, a combination of videos, pictures, and voice messages. Because purely text, we're a little bit worried about our beneficiary pool in that not all of the parents are literate. And then with regard to our entrepreneurs, reaching out to them, seeing, because we don't have any current projects that are running, which was fortunate in some ways because then we didn't have to quickly readapt them, but just checking in with them, finding out what challenges they're facing and how we can best support them. Maybe just to touch on the challenges a little bit, obviously financial was a huge one. This is suddenly a time period where we were thrown into the unknown very, very quickly. Obviously in the Middle East, where the majority of our beneficiaries were, COVID hit earlier than it did in Europe in a lot of cases, especially in Lebanon. So it was unexpected. So there was financial challenges in that you would be expecting to have business, which may have suddenly dried up. Also challenges with regards to crisis response, how to change what you're doing, how do you change your budgeting, how do you change your supply chain, how do you get your product to the market? And every single one of these is different depending on the entrepreneur. Access, as we've seen, I think this is a perfect example from Noir, access to internet and hardware, because obviously as part of the lockdown and the isolation that we're all living in, everybody is suddenly spending the majority of their time online, which can be seen as an opportunity, especially for online businesses, for anybody who's able to work in their online space, like huge opportunity, but also a challenge for a lot of people in the region because internet is expensive. It's not always easily accessible. And also the hardware. I mean, you need to have a phone or a laptop in order to be interacting online on the internet. So I think those are some of the challenges that we faced, our entrepreneurs faced. In some ways, it's also been an opportunity. There's been cases where products have been offered for free. Like a lot of products are saying, come during this period, try out our products, see if you like working online, see if you like using them. Our refugee education program, we were able to get internet packages to the teachers in order for them to be able to do the teaching online. So I think access to internet is a huge one. But one of the kind of opportunities that I'd like to highlight, and I think, again, this event is a great example of this, is just that suddenly, in a way, the walls have been broken down and that so many people are living in the same situation. So expert advice, which is one of the challenges that our entrepreneurs are facing, knowing where to go to get advice and then getting the right people at the table, suddenly it's a whole lot easier to be able to get in the room with these people because everything's being taken online, everything's free. I think that people are thinking a lot more about community at the moment, so they're thinking about how they support their own. So that would be my advice for entrepreneurs in the call. Start really having a think about who the biggest influencers are, who are the experts. I mean, we just listened to Fadi Bandura on the previous call, hugely enthusiastic individual and also someone who's got a lot to offer for the entrepreneurship sector, and you're sitting in a room with him. So that's exciting, and I think that's an opportunity that we should really think about making more of during this time period.
Great. We're going to talk about all the opportunities a little bit later in the call. I first wanted to ask Noir, because Noir, you heard now a little bit sort of from Mohammed and from Grace the specific challenges that have arisen due to COVID outbreak. Can you tell us a little bit about how these challenges were for you, and which of these challenges you were already facing before COVID, and which ones for you are really specifically related to this crisis?
Okay, I will talk about the problems that that we faced during the crisis. Once I noticed that the virus is spreading in a very fast way, I noticed that it will be so close to us, so we need to have a plan to face it. So the first thing I did is going through marketing more than before. I spent time just posting on Facebook and Instagram, sharing with other pages and groups, talking to people that are members from another groups. So we did something we can call build a relationship with our customers, and it works very well. So now we have more than I can say that I have more than 1,000 followers, just 200 in past 2 days. That like and follow our page and contacting us via WhatsApp. We made that just like a relationship between our customers to build a trust at the first stage. And we, of course, use the health organization, the World Health Organization's just like articles that they said about the importance of using soap, because we have our first product is Dorid soap. So we take that and yes, so we take that in response. So we share some articles from the World Health Organization to our page. I want to skip this part to another part. We have facing also purchases product because the border are closed now, so we can't purchase any. So we face something like, okay, let's do it by our hands. So we now have some handmade products, like something we call shaped balloon. Balloon is the stones from Aleppo. They are people using for their hair. So we start make it at home. So this is a new product that created during the crisis. Another thing that we face is challenges that we face, that is shipping to other countries, because we do the scale up from Lebanon because also of the economic crisis here. We need to scale up quickly. We face some challenges like shipping our products. So we found that we can put them all together and shipping them in one shipment. So in this way, we can have a little cost and a fast way to send the shipment all together. But now we are facing illegal registration. So we are working on this part. We are looking for someone that already have a legal company to work with. Maybe it could help.
Oh, there you are. Thank you very much. So those are daunting challenges, right? I mean, you're talking about sort of disruption of your supply chains, difficulty with like actually getting your products to your customers. But then you also talk about the opportunities that it gave you about adjusting your products, especially, of course, your soaps for this particular crisis. Mohammed, I just want to ask you that question as well. Like, what were you able to adjust your products or the way you actually delivered or distributed your products during this crisis? So were you able to adjust to that?
Okay, it's a challenge for me. So we make a procedure to manage that. We make rules to how to produce the products and how to work with customers and deliver this product, and it works. And we adjust all of the production line to be safe.
Okay, great. Grace, what I wanted to ask you actually, I just want to sort of jump into the next question. So often we think with these crises that the most vulnerable, right, the most marginalized anyway, some potentially in this case youth and young female entrepreneurs are hit harder by this crisis. Do you agree with that, or what is your take on that?
I would say vulnerable communities, definitely. It depends on the situation. I wouldn't like to make a one-size-fits-all. I think that in some cases, for women, it's potentially opened up some doors because they traditionally, with some of the Syrian communities we're working with, women are quite often expected to stay at home and look after their families, and therefore have to fit any startup or entrepreneurial work around looking after their families. The sudden change with all of the family members being at home might give the opportunity where there's multiple people in the household to look after the children, potentially living with grandparents, etc. as well. So this could free up some more time for them to work on their startup product. So I think it's a bit of both. Like, I'm extremely worried about a lot of the entrepreneurs living, especially small business owners who are living kind of hand to mouth. They're bringing in income and then they're immediately spending it. They don't have any reserves. So I think as a blanket generalization, I would say that the refugee communities especially have been hit quite hard by the COVID virus. And I think in general, there's been a lack of ability to be able to quickly respond. Because of that lack of feet on the ground from the big organizations who are able to roll out finance very quickly. So the small organizations that are very closely connected are able to do what they can with regards to finance, training, access to experts, supporting these small businesses. But I think that we really need to reconsider how the systems run, in that I think that having a spare pot of money for emergencies like this would be very helpful, just to be able to engage and support these entrepreneurs that really need it.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to sort of jump on that a little bit, Nawar, you as a young female entrepreneur in this region, in this crisis, of course it has been super hard for you, but you've also shown a lot of ability to adjust. I also just want to ask you a question. Do you think you as a young, modern woman were actually able to more quickly adjust and find your and adjust your marketing or find your customers online than maybe another slightly older person? What do you think, Noor?
First of all, I just want to mention that I believe in gender equity, but I don't think so. I don't think so for your question, because I always believe in a quote that we have. It said, creates hope from the world of pain. And then I examined that in personal level. Life is not easy, and we have to act according to this. We should put in mind that crises are terminals. The crises are terminals, and we need to use the available tools to survive, at least with minimum losses. For
Noir, are you still there? I think we might have lost you a little bit.
Your question that as a female...
Yeah. Just to...
our posts. I'm here.
Yes, I can hear you again.
Yes, great. So for your question as a female, yes, sometimes it helps because my audience are females. So sometimes they need a female to talk with. They don't accept, for example, to share their experiences with males. So they need a female to talk with. So this is the importance of gender equity in a point for the situation.
Thank you very much. But you also said sort of previously that you actually quite quickly jumped in the amount of followers and likes that you had online, right? And on Facebook. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you?
Yes, I worked, just like I mentioned for the first question, I worked on posting a lot. I have in marketing. I just want to mention something. We all know a brand called Nescafe. We don't need to see their advertisements, but they do advertising their product because they want people to still remember their products. And this is what I was working on. Just keep Gharna at the first thing with people's mind. When they want to say laurel soap or Belun or something natural, I want them to remember Gharna. So I worked so hard with that. I worked for 24 hours of marketing, digital marketing. with this. I keep posting, sharing, writing articles, making short videos, taking photos, just to keep posting and posting, so people engaged with this.
Great. Thank you very much for that explanation. Tell us your story. Mohammed, so now sort of being in the crisis at the moment, right? What type of extra support could you use? So what is the type of support you really would need right now? And what role do you think that an NGO or a government or another organization can play in that?
In the beginning of the crisis, I was afraid of the beginning of the crisis, and the positive it happened, and the demand increased in my business, and a lot of other business owner came to me and asked me to make products for them. And I hired a new two person beside the two persons I worked before with me. And market they change quickly now in Gaza, and a lot of demand happened. And the most need now it's a cash to the very revenue and the cash flow now is enough to continue us, but not enough to follow the fast growth and the fast changes that happen now in the local market or in the global market. Now in the special manufacturing, the demand it's increased in special manufacturing. The things I do, and the special industrial modeling. So I need cash for bring new machines and new stuff, and grow with the market and follow the changes that happen in the market.
So for you, the biggest challenge is to finance, right? Access to finance,
yeah.
And that is to invest in your company and your machinery, but also just general cash flow, I believe, like in moments like this. And so, what would really help you? Just the obvious, like a soft loan, or what would help you at the moment?
Yes, for example, soft loans, it will help a lot, and also the grants, or contracted, if I make contracted with big NGO to make works with them with previous cash, it will help a lot.
So you're also saying that NGOs or other organizations should look in the countries themselves to actually source for the service and the products that they need in order to help you as an SME. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. What I'm now going to do, I'm going to ask like one more question to Noir about this, like what specific helps you might need, and then I think we should jump into the questions from the audience. So audience members already, because we're getting into the last 15 minutes of this session, start posting your questions. I already saw some amazing ones popping up, but this is the time for you guys to start posting your questions, and we will discuss them in the last 15 minutes. But Noir, I just want to ask you this question as well, like because I think you're doing like amazing. I just want to sort of say, like, it sounds a bit maybe not appropriate in this context, but that doesn't kill you, only makes you stronger. And I feel like the things that you're telling us, you're coming out of this probably as a stronger company than going into the crisis, perhaps. But what type of support could you really use right now, and what type of organizations would be able to give that to you?
Okay, I just want to say first of all that I want to share an example with all the audience here with us. There's a lot of huge companies and big companies that closed because they didn't act immediately with the crisis. And this is what we should take as a responsibility, to take an action immediately. Maybe sometimes we are not familiar with technology, but we have to learn. So we need to learn, and we can't learn by just sitting there and watching everything around us. We need to take an action to learn, by failing, by getting success or whatever, but we need to try. For me, I think to have more support with my business, I'm always looking for expert advisors that have already knowledge more than I do. So they can help, and believe me, all people around would love to help. Just go to them and ask them directly. And this is what I'm using most of the time. And I just want to say also that I need the technical skills, because just like what you see right now, we always have some technical issues, and we are facing a lot of a challenge with it. So this is not something that we can deal with it. So I think we need support immediately for this, because we are going to, the world is going to be technology. And if we couldn't act right now, we are not going to just like develop our countries and our businesses. The third thing I want just to mention, to save the capital. All SMEs should save the capital right now, because I know we are in a crisis, and this crisis will be end in the end. But we need to save the capital to keep moving for the long term. Also, I want to mention that business without communication skills is nothing. So you need to work hard with communication skills, which I'm doing right now also. Building a good social network are the first support to us, to all of us. And research, I'm always mentioning that research is the most important things to do, because, for example, the research that I did last month, I found that I need to build a website, and I found that it's too expensive to me to have a website, and I found another solution, just like a website called Badjar. They offered you to have just like a website, your own website, but on their website. And it's too cheap, and it's too easy to build your website. Also, I found a way to develop my business, just like doing a catalog, including all the products that we have, with all the description that customers need to read about. And we are working on it right now. And also because of the research, we are working now on an accountant program by using Access. So all of this will help you. Just do some research. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Nawar. I just want to sort of also point out that I actually read this morning a document that SPARK just published, something called like the survival guide for COVID SMEs or something. I read it this morning, and I can highly recommend it to everybody here, because a lot of those really practical suggestions that you made, Nawar, they're awesome, and I could find in that document a few of them as well. So if there's anybody from SPARK in this call right now and this session, and they can actually post a link to it, that would be great. That said, Grace, there's like one of the questions that came in was like, can you please share some examples of the measures and activities you YouTube to work on? I think this is especially in the refugee context. Can you shed some light on that, Grace?
Yeah, of course. So firstly, I'd like to address the report. You can find it on ahmedsb.com, which is Ahmed Sufyan Bayram, who's a writer, and I also read it this morning, and it's a fantastic report. If I have a second, I'll try and share it in the chat in case someone from SPARK isn't here. And then the second thing I'd love to say before coming to the question was I found it really fascinating in listening to the two examples of our fantastic entrepreneurs here, is that in both situations, it feels a little bit like a crisis within a crisis. For Mohammed, obviously, we have the situation in Gaza, which has been going on for far too long now, and I'm really blown away by what you've been able to achieve. And then for Noah, like as we all know, in Lebanon we had the protests, and then a very, very difficult economic situation. So firstly, huge props to both of you. But secondly, I think that's something that we can really take away from this is the resilience that these youth are facing, and the ability to very quickly adapt in the way that potentially, I think you were touching on this earlier, Richard, the the older generation might not be able to, in that we are young and tech savvy. And I'm so impressed by everything you've been able to achieve, Noel, with regards to self-learning. And I think that that's something that's, I mean, I've found even in managing through this current situation is like, wow, the learning curve is so steep. And I really feel like coming out of this, I'm going to be a better manager because of the many different things we've had to go through. So I think that that's fascinating. And to any entrepreneur out there, I'm sure this really did feel like the end of the world. But even if your business is not a success, just the skills that you've developed in working through this crisis scenario, I think will really hold you in good stead for the rest of your life. And this is something we try and emphasize with our entrepreneurs. On average, I think it takes something like 3.4 businesses before you launch a successful business that survives. So I did want to share that with the group, that if COVID does mean the end of your business for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that has to be the end of you being an entrepreneur. And well done to both of these guys for everything you've been doing. With regards to adapting quickly in Lebanon with our refugee education program, so we have 3 centers, 2 in the Bekaa and 1 in Beirut. And obviously everything in Lebanon was under very strict lockdown. They had very high caseload in Lebanon. So suddenly we were left in a situation where we have around 40 teachers and staff on the ground. And then we have around 1,300 students who are used to coming into school every day. And basically we went into a management meeting and we said, what do our beneficiaries have access to and how can we reach them with online education? And we decided that WhatsApp was something that the majority of our beneficiaries had access to, and also it mitigates the, as I mentioned earlier, the lack of literacy in some of the parents who we're working with. We immediately shifted the week after the lockdown, and we were starting to revise the school curriculum. And then now we started to cover new curriculum. And then for the parents who are not online, we're complementing that with packages where we're going to print word packages and send that out to them. So, I mean, I think this is an interesting example of like education. I mean, we're working with a lot of universities and education institutions who suddenly have realize that their traditional method of learning, which is in person in a classroom, is no longer available, and just trying to say, okay, how do we deliver what we used to delivering with the tools available, which I think is what every single different institution, be it an entrepreneur and a company, education institution, even governments. I mean, most governments are doing Zoom calls now, I think, which is amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mohammed, one of the other questions that I saw earlier on from the audience was, what are your plans for post-COVID? Like, what are you, like, so, you know, the big premise, of course, is like you are going to come out of this better and stronger. So what are your plans after this crisis?
For me, I have a small plan or plan in short period that focus on to develop materials that Ministry of Health need. Ministry of Health post a newspaper of the most important tools and equipment they need, and I working with my team to build this products and develop it to Ministry of Health. And after then, I don't know. The situation here grow. We can grow fastly and grow by way we cannot expect what will happen in the next step. So my plans, it's all my plans. It's in a short term. That we learned from Gaza crisis. We faced a lot of crises in the past. And we learn from that to make our strategies in pieces, and every pieces make a small plan for it.
Okay.
That's my.
That's your plan. So working closely with the Ministry of Health, right, for their new product, and then it's just well, not anybody's guess, but you sort of have to reassess your strategy long term, right? Noah, one of the other questions that I saw pop up was like, how can we make jobs, but also want to sort of make that bigger sort of companies more sustainable post COVID? And you mentioned some things about saving some capital, for a rainy day, or in this case, like a rainy 6 months. But can you tell us a little bit about how you look at sort of making your own company or making the jobs that you're providing more sustainable post COVID?
Okay, I just want to mention that I'm working during the crisis in a very, very hard way. I just want to thank Ahmed Sufyan Bayram and SPARK for the guide survival, because honestly, they are my advisors for my small business. I just want to mention also that now I'm working on saving the capital to increase our capital, increase our income, to make our own products, to scale them outside of Lebanon. During the corona virus, we are scaling, but in a very, very hard way. But after COVID-19, I think it will be more easier, especially now that we are going to technological age. So I think it will be more easy to scale up our business. So this is number one that I want to work with. Number two, to have more employee, because you know that we have a handmade part of this small business, and we have a marketing also part. So in each country we need a marketer there, and each marketer need some employees to work with, and we are working with percentage, not a fixed salary. So I think it's a good offer to increase their income also, so they can have their own jobs and have more income from benefit with more income from working with Gharna as a part-time or freelancers.
Great, thank you very much. Actually,
thank you.
Grace, I want to come back to you now, because one of the questions was also like, so what can we learn from previous crises, like for instance Ebola in West Africa? But I actually want to change that question slightly and ask you, like, you are in a region, like you already pointed out, that actually has seen quite a few crises in a row. What are your lessons learned? Sort of reviewing the various crises in the various countries. Like, what are your lessons learned in how to make your own organization more sustainable, or the type of work and how you deliver it to the participants?
Right. I mean, the first thing that I'd like to say is the crisis historically is a time for innovation, and is a time for rapid change. I mean, if you look at every crisis we've been through, I'm British originally, and you have the Industrial Revolution, which stemmed from a crisis, and you see like this huge boom of economy, and I think we're going to see that stemming from the COVID crisis, and that people are thinking a lot, people are innovating, people are changing the way that they work, the way that they shop, and the way that they live their lives. With regards to previous crises, I think it's been the same, and that's something that the MENA region, as I'm sure you all know, is famous for, finding hacks and finding ways around things. And I mean, I'd love to hear your experience from Africa and Liberia, Richard. But I think that when you put you can't do this and this is not possible, you put a wall up. All these youth entrepreneurs are doing is finding ladders and putting ladders up against them and finding different ways around it. And I'd encourage you to keep doing that. The innovation in what you're producing, but also in the ways that you're going about doing different things is incredible. And I think that's something that's gonna be like a huge positive coming out of this virus situation, that a lot of different things about how we are living our life have changed. And I'd encourage both the entrepreneurs on the panel, but also any people speaking, to start thinking about what's next, how the first stages of change have happened, and how this is going to affect your business in the future, and start planning for it right now, because that's going to be on us. Already here in Europe, we're starting to open up, I think, a little bit in the region as well. So change is upon us once more, and we're going to have to pivot our ideas and start thinking about the next stage. Sorry, we're running out of time, Richard.
Great, we're running out of time. But on those aspirational words, I really want to thank the three of you for participating in this session. Thank you very much for sharing your stories with the audience. Noir, Mohammed, and Grace, it was a pleasure to meet you and pleasure to talk to you. I hope the audience had a good time listening to all your fantastic stories and experiences, and I feel like overall there's quite an uplifting take on this as well. I think you're all trying to adjust and come out of this stronger. So I wish you all the best, and I want to say thank you. All right.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you to SPARK as well for inviting us, and to my fellow panel.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice getting married. Bye.
Bye bye.